So in my mid-20s, before I met my husband, I was told to manifest my man and write down the kind of man that I would like. And typical modern woman me. I 6 feet and makes good money and has a car, but nothing on there had anything to do with the kind of woman that I needed to be in order to have a man like that and keep a man like that. So that just goes to show you how bad off we are as ladies, that we will only ask for a king while basically being peasants, not understanding that you too have work to do. But before we get into this video today, I wanted to go ahead and read off this comment from Chris Moore 997. For most women, they never admit they are doing anything wrong because their girlfriends tell them that they are perfect just the way they are. Very few ever fix themselves. And that's exactly why we make demands for the type of men that we would like, all while not telling each other that in order to have men like this, these are some qualities that you need to have. That even goes to women around us, friendships, mothers. Yeah, it's pretty deep in there, but let's get into this video.
By the end of this video, you won't just understand the difference between a high-value woman and a low-value one. You'll know exactly how to protect your peace, your time, and your future from the kind of woman who can derail your life without even realizing she's doing it. Most men think they can spot the wrong woman early, but the truth is, low-value women don't reveal themselves through obvious drama. They show their patterns slowly, quietly, and usually only after you're already invested. Today, you're getting the 7 hidden signs that expose exactly who you're dealing with. And listen carefully. Sign number 7 is the one almost every man misses. It doesn't show up as chaos or disrespect. It shows up as something that feels normal, even harmless, something modern. But it's the one sign that silently destroys more men than anything else on this list. If you don't catch it early, you'll give loyalty, energy, and years of your life to someone who never planned to give the same back. That's why you need to watch until the end. Let's get into it. The first sign is subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. She never takes responsibility. You can tell you're dealing with a low-value woman when every story she tells ends the same way. It wasn't my fault. If she's single, men are the problem. If she's broke, the world is unfair. If her life is chaotic, somehow everyone around her caused the chaos. A woman who never takes responsibility isn't unlucky. She's stuck in denial. And denial forces her to repeat the same cycle because blaming others feels safer than growing up. Most men miss the deeper danger here. When she refuses responsibility for her past, she's telling you what her future with you will look like. A woman who can't own her own story can't protect yours. A high-value woman does something rare. She admits when she's wrong. She pauses. She learns. She adjusts.
And look at how all of these qualities that he's listing of being a high-quality woman, none of those are what we speak about. When we are asked, okay, well, what's a high-value woman? Oh, well, she makes good money. She has a degree. She goes and what actually matters to men, surprisingly, because I had to learn this too, is that they actually care about what's going on the inside as much as in their nature, just like all of us as ladies too. Yeah, of course, we recognize the outside, and we appreciate it, the outside as well. But what men look for long term, they're looking on the inside because they have to see someone that they can come home to and trust with and be peaceful with. Like, that's what matters to men more than anything. And learning that switched how I view men and all, because then, oh, wait, so they don't actually just care about, but big booties and what I look like naked. They don't just care about that. That can only last for so long. Like, at some point, you're going to become old. And so how is that going to last? That's not lasting. But we're not taught that, even from our parents. We're not taught how to appreciate these qualities, to be a high quality woman, Let's get into it. He makes amazing
grows.
points.
But a low-value woman hides behind excuses the way a child hides behind a curtain, hoping no one notices. And the longer you listen to those excuses, the more you'll start apologizing for things you never did. I've seen solid men, disciplined, focused, grounded men, lose themselves because of this pattern. They spent years trying to help a woman who wasn't helping herself. Remember this: you can't build peace with someone who profits from chaos. If she can't acknowledge her part in the storm, she'll eventually make you the lightning rod for it. And that leads straight into the next sign, because once she runs out of people to blame, she clings to the one thing she still believes gives her value: her image. A low-value woman builds her identity around attention, not character. She lives for likes, comments, and validation from people who barely know her. Her beauty becomes her currency, and her phone becomes her validation machine. At first, it looks harmless. She's stylish, confident, radiant, and a lot of men mistake that for self-worth. But pay attention. She invests in the image, not the person behind it. When a woman's self-worth depends on being seen, she'll do anything to stay visible, even at the cost of her peace. She'll trade authenticity for attention, depth for desire, wisdom for the dopamine rush of someone telling her she's beautiful. And here's where most men get trapped. They confuse presentation with peace. They see the glow and ignore the emptiness behind it. They think confidence equals character. It doesn't. Beauty attracts you. Integrity protects you.
And we as ladies are tricked by this as well. We not only are doing it to the men, we're actually doing it to other ladies as well. Of that's what brings you peace, is by if only I just get to this looking like this, and only if I just get to this perfect shape and image, like then I'll be happy. And that's what it is. Nothing is going to fulfill you until you know who you are and your purpose here. And that's the whole thing that we're missing, is what we're built for, and why we were chosen to be a woman and not a man. And the main thing is that because we're made for a man. And so we have to acknowledge that. Like from the jump, we're always obsessed with these princess Disney movies. There's a reason for that. There's that natural thing within us that's what we want to do. We want to find a man, and we want to have a marriage and have babies. Like that's natural, and that's okay. But we're just mixed up. We're messed up out here, you know? Let's get back into it.
And a woman addicted to attention will always need an audience, even when she's in a relationship. I remember once hearing a simple line that captures it perfectly: admiration is rented, character is owned. That's why a high-value man must ask himself one question: does she want to be loved, or does she want to be admired? Because a woman chasing admiration isn't building a relationship, she's building a fan base. And when she needs a fan base to feel alive, you'll end up competing with strangers for her attention. And this is exactly why she reacts the way she does when you try to bring up something real, something deep, something uncomfortable. When a woman invests in her image instead of her character, she defends the image at all costs. She doesn't reflect, she reacts. She doesn't slow down, she doubles down. And that leads directly into the next sign, because this is where conversations start turning into battles. But before we move forward, lock in what you've learned. Drop a quick comment.
Real quick, even in my own marriage, on the intention thing, because it is a big deal to us as ladies, that even in my very beginning of my husband and I's relationship, he said, like basically like, why are you wearing that? Like, when you're out with your girls, and why are you even wanting to go out with your girls and stuff like that when we're trying to build something here? And I'm like taken back by it, like, wait, what? Like, and then my girlfriend's in my ear, like, don't let him tell you what you can and cannot wear. Don't let him do this, like it's a bad thing that he cares about my well-being. Because if you're actually trying to build something with me here, then this is a very conflicting message. That's all that men are trying to communicate to us, is that are you or are you not trying to really build something here with me? And what we take that as is that they're trying to control us. Well, guess what? Maybe that's leading us. Maybe that is what we need. That is what we actually do want deep down inside, is somebody to tell us that, hey, what you doing? Because we need that. That's what we need, all of us, But let's get back into it.
comment saying accountable or character. It reinforces the lesson and signals that you're the kind of man who values growth. And if you want to grow with a community of men who think like you, grounded, sharp, and leveling up on purpose, hit subscribe and join a brotherhood built on clarity and standards. Now let's talk about what happens when she argues more than she thinks. You've seen this kind of woman before. The constant debates, the emotional outbursts, the need to win even when the facts are right in front of her. With a low-value woman, the argument is never about truth. It's about control. She interrupts not because she has something meaningful to add, but because silence feels like losing. She exaggerates to sway emotions, corrects your wording to derail the point, and reacts before she understands. She's not doing this because she's evil. She's doing it because listening requires humility, and humility is a muscle she never learned to build. Talking to her doesn't feel like communication. It feels like combat. It's not two people exchanging thoughts. It's one person trying to dominate the room. And here's where a lot of good men get trapped. They start arguing back. They think,
the way that he even worded that is that she never learned to do that. Like, he's not saying that like no woman anywhere, that there's no way that you can. No, she has not learned that. But look at that, like how even this guy making this video, what we want to do is get mad about it, right? And get emotional about it, because that really sucks to hear that, because that's definitely what I tend to do. And I have to fight that. I have to learn that. That's a muscle that I have to keep building, especially because I wasn't taught it when I was young. That's why we need our daddies. That's why everything is in a design in order for us to learn these things earlier on, so it's not as hard when we're older. That's why it's so daggone hard to even hear this, because we're not taught it properly. Especially because your mamas are at work all day throwing you in daycare, and you're stuck there like, well, the only way to survive here is to blend right in. That's what it is. That's what we're used to. But now what we've made, this is a mess that we're in. And yes, it is because of other people. But what are we going to do about it? We can't just blame them and be mad at it. No, we gotta stand up at some point and be like, okay, I may have never been taught this properly, but I can learn it. I can do it and take it on as a challenge, because what I did for the longest was just be mad at it. That didn't help. I still wasn't peaceful. I still wasn't joyful. I still was causing a ruckus. And I'm like, babe, I don't know. Like, what is, and he's like, dude, you just got to start doing something about it rather than be mad about it. And that's what it is. You know, you can learn it. You can change it, but you got to start somewhere, you know? And that's what men understand, because they don't get a break from the jump. We don't let them. We keep our foot down on them, you know? But that's what it is. We got to start somewhere. And it's going to suck at first, especially hearing it. Like, whoo, when we hear it, I know that it's easy to get emotional about hearing it, but then take it on as a challenge, you know? But let's get back into it.
maybe if I explain it clearly, she'll finally understand. But you can't explain your way into peace with someone who treats understanding like surrender. Every time you argue with ego, you lose twice. First your energy, then your respect. And it's subtle. You don't notice it happening until you feel drained, confused, and somehow responsible for a fight you didn't start. High-value women don't operate like this. They don't need to win every moment. They value calm over chaos, reflection over reaction. They think before they speak. They process before they respond. They're not afraid of silence, because silence gives space for understanding. But a low-value woman fears silence. It exposes the weakness of her arguments. That's why she fills the space with noise. Attention feeds her ego, even if the attention is negative. There's an old saying that fits perfectly here. Never wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty and the pig likes it. Ego works the same way. Once you engage, you're already losing. And if she can't find peace within herself, she'll create conflict around her just to feel in control, which leads directly to the next sign. Because if she doesn't learn from the battles she starts, those battles become her lifestyle. But before we go deeper, do me one quick favor.
God bless
if these
this
signs
creator,
are resonating,
seriously.
hit the
Very
like
good.
button. Not for the algorithm, for yourself. It helps reinforce what you're learning so these patterns become easier to spot in real life. Now let's talk about the fourth sign. She never learns from her mistakes. This is one of the most exhausting patterns to deal with because it tricks you into thinking change is always almost happening. A low-value woman lives in cycles. Same type of men, same drama, same heartbreak. Every new beginning looks different, but somehow every ending feels exactly the same. She says she's healing, but healing without reflection is just running in circles with nicer vocabulary. Here's the truth most men overlook.
Oh
She doesn't
my
actually want
gosh.
growth. She wants comfort. And comfort means never facing the uncomfortable reality that she might be the problem. When you meet a woman who blames all her exes, calls every man toxic, but keeps choosing the same type of men, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And poor pattern recognition is one.
There's so much good stuff in that part right there. We are always taught that man bad, woman good. Nothing you do, girl. No. It's him. You can do better. You know, maybe he just wasn't the one for you. My own mother said that about my husband, and thank God I didn't listen. But think about that. Like, I wouldn't be blessed with this amazing marriage if I kept with that advice. Like, we gotta at some point we have to recognize that it's not one-sided. In order for anything to work in any sort of form of a relationship, two people have to work at it. That means that not one person is always in the wrong and one person's always right. That stupid happy wife, happy life stuff, no. Like, that is completely wrong. What is correct is that we both are human, and we both need to work on things, and we both are going to grow together and stick through it no matter what. But what the biggest issue is right now in this society is that it's never the woman's fault. It's never the woman's problem, ever. Like, at some point we have to wake up to this reality of chaos that we've created, and wonder why we can't make it work with all of our exes. Why? I don't know. I don't know what happened. It was them. They did something. At some point, though, it's got to be you, because how can you go through that many people and it always be them? Even then, that's still your fault, because you've chosen that many people that were wrong. But we're not taught that at all, to do any sort of self-reflection or self-assessment. And yeah, that's at some point we got to start moving that way.
Yeah, I think that women shouldn't get the response. I think that if you're going to blame somebody every single time, that's a sign that you don't deserve the responsibility of choosing your mate. Mm-hmm. I think that you don't deserve the responsibility to go out and choose your mate alone and date. I think that you should have, if you're going to blame men, you should have a man over that process.
Yes. And this is why arranged marriages work. Like, that's why they work, because it takes away, this is how you know that we're supposed to have a leader above us that has the final say, because we don't like to take responsibility if things go wrong. If things don't work, we don't like that feeling. Why do you think that God has them over us to lead us? Because then that means that they have the final say. Oh, well, if it didn't work out, well, he did have the final say, though. Like, just being honest. But because what that does is that just means that, hey, they know what may be best. Like, we can give them our ideas, let them know a couple of things, because we gain wisdom. But for the most part, we don't even want that responsibility on us. You know how I know? Because we don't want to take responsibility for why our relationship ended in the past. I definitely did that. I had to go back over and be like, oh, wow, actually, they weren't too bad. Like, if I'm being honest, it honestly was just me not being straightforward with what I wanted out of this relationship from the jump. That's where I went wrong. And that's where a lot of us go wrong. We're not straightforward because we stink at it of being like, hey, I actually am dating to marry, and I'm not trying to do this weird back and forth thing. I actually really like you. And then sometimes you may get, well, I don't really like you like that, or I'm not looking for that. But we're terrified of that too. But at some point we have to take something, but we avoid it so much because we're taught to. But at some point, in order to get success, you have to take responsibility and accountability. And that's where we're at in this state. you know, why we're so far behind and why it seems like men are mean at this point. But no, they're just like, well, okay, well, at some point it's you too though. Like, come on, like you're just, nothing's wrong with you, you know? Like, I can see how that could be frustrating where it's only one-sided. I don't think so. There's no way. So yeah, I know from my own personal journey, when I looked around, even to close people to me, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, none of y'all are telling me like that, how something that you overcame and worked through about yourself. Truthfully though, I couldn't find anything like that or anyone to talk to about that, of how, yeah, I've actually realized that I lie, and that I've really had to work through that. Or I have trouble admitting that I tend to manipulate a little bit, like, and I'm trying to work on wanting to control things, but we don't ever work through anything, like, you know what I mean? But that's what we got to be careful who we're around, and recognize the state at where we're at. Because once I started seeing that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I got to get up here and be somebody for some ladies so that they know that, hey, it's okay to recognize, hey, I'm part of the problem too, but I can fix it, you know? But yeah, this might need a part 2.
Yeah.
All right. But God bless y'all. See you in the next one.